Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the college football pregame show. Today we have the Sun Belt. We'll be doing our preseason picks for the Sun Belt. This video came out a little later than we usually do. It was supposed to come out last week. It had some scheduling issues, which translates to I forgot to do the research in time. So we've got the Sun Belt video and the American Conference video should also be out for you watching. We're going to do it a little differently this week. I'm going to go through my power rankings. We're doing power rankings this time, very exciting and new. And then I'm going to make the picks. Timestamp should be showing on your screen for that about right now. And I guess I'm going to go ahead and get into the power rankings for the Sun Belt. Starting all the way down at number 14. Number 14, I have Louisiana Monroe. It's not looking to be a great year for ULM. Aiden Armenta is back at quarterback after a 1,600-yard season. However, they don't have a running back with a carry last year, which is a little bit concerning, if I may. Noah Flemings at linebacker does have 80 tackles. He's an exciting player to watch out for, but that might really kind of be it for the team that is worth watching out for. Brian Vincent's been an all-right coach for them. That's kind of it. They don't really have anything else exciting. Moderately sleep-deprived me. Yesterday did not find very much interesting to write about them. I have my notes here, a little note sheet. Yeah, there's nothing else on them, but I did put them at last in the power rankings, so I'd imagine they're not very good. Next up at number 13, we've got Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech has no running backs with snaps last year. Louisiana Monroe had no running backs with carries. Louisiana Tech doesn't have a running back who even took a snap and went on the field last year. The defense is not good, just total. Really, the offense isn't very exciting either. Sonny Cumbie, I guess, has been an okay coach for them. Maybe he can turn something around this year, but it's not looking likely. Number 12, Georgia Southern, has really no offensive standouts that were worth writing down in my notes. They do have Brandon Tyson, the linebacker with 84 tackles, who I guess who's apparently the only player worth taking a note about. I guess Clay Helton's been a pretty solid head coach for them. And that's it. That's really all they got, so I'm not too keen on them this year. Now, number 11, Georgia State. I'm not a huge fan of the team overall, but I really like Cameron Brown at quarterback. While he only had 1,200 yards, not terrible, but not great, he had a 13-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, which that kind of consistency and just ability to avoid bad plays can really pay off at anywhere in the college level, especially in the mid-majors. So I'm expecting he'll be one of the better quarterbacks in the conference. They have solid stats on defense, but no real standouts. Del McGee, who was not a great coach last year, maybe he'll be able to turn around. Does have new coordinators, so maybe that'll help get the coaching staff together. I'm not thinking they're going to be terrible. I'm just not the most excited about them compared to some of the other teams in this conference. Now, number 11. Nope, that was number 11. Number 10, Southern Miss, is looking to be in pretty rough shape after my Memphis Tigers absolutely just took their team. We took their coach. We took all their players. They're looking to be in pretty rough shape. They have Lander Liddy was the backup last year. They have a pair of 300-yard running backs. They have no defender with more than 50 tackles at any position, which is definitely a big concern. They have a new coach in Blake Anderson. I like the hire, but I'm really not sure he'll be able to have a great year with the roster he has in front of him. Now, number 9, Appalachian State. Dowell Loggains is going into year 2. They have a new offensive coordinator in Mike Anthony. Overall, the offense doesn't look great. Malachi Singleton was a backup at Purdue. He's now the quarterback. They do have Jaquari Lewis, the running back, coming off a 618-yard season. Chris Lofton had 917 receiving yards last year. Very exciting. They also have Colton Fairs at linebacker, 101 tackles. But my problem is that's kind of it. Their secondary does not look very good. So I don't see terribly high ceiling for Appalachian State this year. Now, number 8, Old Dominion. They've got Jackson Potter, quarterback coming in from Wazoo. They have, my biggest concern is their D-line. They don't have a single player who recorded a sack on the defensive line last season. Let's see. They do have Zion Frank at corner, had 60 tackles last year. Ricky Rain has been a pretty good head coach. Has been a pretty good head coach. Overall, I'm not as confident in the roster as I would like to be to put them in the top half of my Sun Belt ranking. Sorry about all the ads on this website, by the way. I've been trying to figure out a way around that. Cropping is, for some reason, rather difficult on the editing software I'm using. I don't know. Deal with it. I'm dealing with it. You can too. Number 7 in the power rankings is South Alabama. South Alabama has Bishop Davenport coming back at quarterback. He had 2,000 yards last year. He's leading the offense. On the defensive end of the ball, they don't have anybody in the secondary with 30 tackles, which doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, but it does mean there's a lack of experience on the secondary, which you really don't want to see if you're trying to compete in this conference. The Sun Belt, again, it's not a bad conference. This is one of the best mid-major conferences. The Sun Belt champion has already made the playoffs once. And I think it's almost at the exact same level as the American because of the just long list of contenders and strong programs, the very high ceiling that is full of teams, but there's also just a very low floor. So it's competitive. It's always going to be competitive. Let me see. Where was I? Oh, yeah, South Alabama does have Major Applewhite coaching. He has coached under Nick Saban. You might remember him from being a Texas quarterback in the 1990s. 2000s or 90s? 90s, I think. I want to say 90s. So he has been pretty good coaching in his coaching career. So I'm excited to see what he can do this season, especially with a pretty solid roster that he's got. Number 6 is going to be the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. They do have Lunch Winfield coming back at quarterback. He was great last year. Got to see a couple games from him. The stats maybe don't look the most impressive. He only had but he had 1.5 thousand passing yards. But he might not have anyone to throw to. There's only one receiver on the roster with more than 100 yards last year. I think he had roughly 400 or 500, but I'm not very confident in the wide receiver core. Michael Desormeaux has seen slight regression in the program since Billy Napier left, who we will be talking about again later in the video. So maybe not quite in position to contend for a conference championship. They could win the division, but the Sun Belt West is looking pretty tough this year. So, unlikely. Now, number 5, speaking of the Sun Belt West, is Arkansas State. Now, Arkansas State has a really good offense this year. They have a 4-way quarterback battle, which has still not been decided as far as I'm aware. Once I figure out who will win this, I'll put it in a later video when I figure that out. When they figure out who's starting, they have a pair of 500-yard running backs. They have Jalen Benelli with 200 yards. They have Hunter Summers with 500 yards. This is receiving yards, wide receivers. They also have Chauncey Cobb with 800 yards. So, pretty confident in Arkansas State's offense. My concern is the defense. Let's see. They have 5 total sacks on the defensive line at the FBS level last season. They did have Shakai Woods with 48 tackles, but only 2.5 sacks. They got 5 Johnson at corner, 38 tackles last year, not bad. They got A.G. McGee, 83 tackles, and Brandon Barnes, 68 tackles at safety. I'm using tackles a lot, I guess, just because it's a very consistent defensive stat. It's not the only one, obviously. Not even the most important one, depending on the position. Clune Van Andel even's a really good kicker. 54 yards is his longest. The coaching staff, Butch Jones, has been coached since 2021. He's been pretty good. Still, overall, pretty good team. Where are we? Number 4, James Madison. James Madison coming off a playoff appearance, and then Bob Chesney left. They have Billy Napier coming in at coach. I'm very excited about him. I know some people aren't. He didn't do very well at Florida. But he's already shown that he's been able to compete at this level of football for sure. He's been an excellent Sun Belt coach. Louisiana was running in high gear when he was there. Now, I don't think it's a transfer portal issue for Coach Napier. It might be, but I think he is definitely able to adapt to the transfer portal era as a coach, and I am very excited. And James Madison has already survived a very good coach leaving since Kurt Cignetti is no longer coaching there. Bob Chesney leaves. I think they can handle that too. They've been able to handle coaching changes. Now, they do have a familiar face for me at quarterback, Arrington Maiden. He was the backup for the University of Memphis Tigers last year. Had an excellent play on fourth down, scrambling for the first down to allow the clock to run out against Arkansas. Very nice play. Turns out that wasn't as much of a quality win as we thought it was, but he was a pretty good backup. I'm not sure how he'll be able to do starting at the Sun Belt level, but I'm pretty confident that especially everyone improves year to year. I do hope he does well, and I do think he's going to do pretty well. They've got Nick Herman, a 1,000-yard running back at the FCS level, transferring in. They don't have any 30-tackle defenders in the secondary, which is a bit concerning, but it's also, I think they have a lot of young players at corner and safety, defensive back. So I think this is an issue they can definitely get over very quickly. I really like James Madison this year. They might even be my pick to win the Sun Belt East. I love that the Sun Belt still has divisions, by the way. We should. I know the SEC has 18 teams, so divisions aren't very practical at the moment. But I think if your conference can fit into divisions, have divisions. I think divisions are great. Start rivalries, keep rivalries going. So yeah, divisions, great. We should bring them back, I think. And I commend the Sun Belt for never getting rid of them just because they stopped being cool. Let's see. So yeah, overall, very excited about James Madison. Think they're going to have another great year, even if they might not be quite ready for another playoff run. We'll see what Coach Napier can do. Now, number 3, Coastal Carolina. They are pretty far removed since 2020. It's been a while since their magical 12-0 regular season victory over BYU and Kansas. Excellent. That was such a fun year, and I would like to say, you can ask anybody I know. It's real. I called it going into the preseason. I said, this Coastal Carolina team looks pretty good. You better watch out for them. I didn't expect them to go 12-0 either, but thought they'd be pretty good. But all that to say, it's been a while since then, though. They have not been competing quite the same level. They've had a couple good seasons, but I'm not the most excited about, or I haven't been the most excited about him. However, I really like Ryan Beard coming as a hire from Missouri State. Deuce Bailey was the backup quarterback at Missouri State. I think he'll be excellent. He was very consistent, at least, in Springfield. And they also have Nick Petrino at offensive coordinator. I believe that is Bobby Petrino's son. So I like that hire overall. Looks like Nick Petrino's had a pretty good career as an assistant. So overall, Coastal, I think, is probably the second best team in the Sun Belt East, after none other than my number 2, and that is the Marshall Thundering Herd. Let me tell you something. Carlos Del Rio-Wilson had 2,000 yards last year, and I think he is fixing to be the best quarterback this conference has seen in a long time. And Marshall has had some pretty good quarterbacks in college, might I add. The receiver room and running back room aren't spectacular, but they're not bad. All you need to do is have a high floor, I think, to compete in a competitive mid-major conference. High ceiling, of course, is good too, but you can't have the ability to just collapse and, I don't know, maybe like lose to UAB and finish the year 2-4. Memphis. Looks like Marshall will be able to do it. Yeah, I'm still kind of mad about that. I also really like, at tight end, Toby Payne. with 393 receiving yards last year. I'm very excited to see what he can do this year. Really, the only defensive concern I have is the secondary. They don't have anybody with 20 tackles. I don't think they have anybody with more than 2 interceptions. However, I even like Tony Gibson at head coach. He took a really abysmal roster last year to a pretty solid 5-7 season. So, if he can do well with bad rosters, I'd assume he can do well with good rosters like this as well. And now, finally, my number one going into the Sun Belt season this year is going to be the Troy Trojans. They have the Tucker Kilcrease and Goose Crowder combo coming back at quarterback. Oh, that was nice. Those bars, my goodness. Let's see. Tucker Kilcrease and Goose Crowder are running it back. Both were excellent at quarterback. I guess kind of alternated like running back duo almost, but the quarterbacks. You don't see it a lot, but it worked pretty solid for them last year, and I think it'll work pretty well for them this year. I am a bit concerned with their receivers. Nobody with more than 100 yards. But as long as the running game performs acceptably, I don't think that'll be a huge issue. Or the offense, I don't think the offense will be a huge issue. I do like Justin Powell at safety, 75 tackles. He's the only defender with more than 50, so he's the only real star on the defense. But it's not a bad defense either. Gerard Parker has been a pretty solid head coach so far in his tenure at the Troy Trojans. So I think they're gonna go. I think they're going places this year. Playoffs maybe not, but definitely expected to have a good season. And with that, we're getting straight into the picks, starting with oh dear, Week 1 we've got Arkansas State at Memphis. I'm going to talk about this again in the American Conference video, but Memphis loves playing down to our competition. I think it's just a culture issue in both football and basketball that coaching changes have not fixed historically. It's going to be closer than I want it to be, but I don't think we're going to lose. I'm taking Memphis. Now, Coastal at West Virginia. West Virginia's looking pretty rough. Coastal is not. On the road, that's a tempting Power Conference upset, especially since West Virginia did this last year. They lost at home to Ohio. Coastal's pretty good in early season games. I think I'm going to take the Chanticleers. I might change that pick when Big 12 week rolls around. I don't think I know enough about West Virginia. But for now, I think I'm taking Coastal. And then Penn State's going to manhandle Marshall. They're one of the best teams in the conference, but they're not Penn State. Mississippi State's not usually very good by SEC standards, but ULM is bad. Just bad. I'm taking the Bulldogs. App State, Georgia Southern, Georgia State can all handle FCS opponents. Already picked James Madison to beat Liberty. Louisiana Tech, Old Dominion, Louisiana, and South Alabama, and Southern Miss, excuse me for poor grammar, I used and twice, should all take care of FCS opponents, and Troy should definitely beat Sam Houston. Week 2, Georgia Southern is not going to be able to handle Clemson. I don't think Old Dominion can handle Virginia Tech. Now, App State at East Carolina, it's a rivalry game. ECU's looking pretty good this year. I think I do like the Pirates, and I'm not too high on App. I think I'm going to take ECU at home. They've been historically, or at least in the last couple years, I think they've been better than they would usually be at home. Then you got South Alabama, Tulane. Tulane's not looking good this year. South Alabama isn't looking great either. This is honestly a very competitive matchup. I think at home I'm going to take the Green Wave. Losing their coach, losing pretty much everybody did hurt them, but they're still a very good program, and I don't think it'll hurt them that bad. Then Alabama, Birmingham, and Louisiana Monroe, the worst team in the Sun Belt versus the worst team in the American. I'm not really sure who to pick here. I guess in comparison, Louisiana Monroe's a little better, but the game's at home. That said, I don't think I've ever seen a UAB game with significant amount of fans in attendance. I think I'm taking the Warhawks on the road. Then USC can beat Louisiana. I already did pick Kent State to beat Georgia State. Hanging on to that pick. Auburn and LSU will both handle their Sun Belt opponents, Southern Miss and Louisiana Tech respectively. Arkansas State, Coastal, James Madison, and Troy beat their FCS opponents. And I think I am going to take Marshall over Middle Tennessee, who is not looking to be great this year. Marshall, I think, is looking to be pretty good. Next, we're going to have Louisiana Tech at Baylor. Louisiana Tech isn't looking too terrible, but they're not a match for Baylor. I don't think Arkansas State's a match for TCU. UCF, usually it's a bad decision if you're a lower tier power conference team to schedule a Sun Belt opponent, but I think UCF will be fine against Georgia State. Then, JFL State and Georgia Southern, I think I'm going to keep that pick. Missouri State beating Marshall. You know what? For the first time in this series, I am changing a pick. I'm taking the Marshall Thundering Herd on the road, and Missouri State, I picked them to be 5-7. I've changed my mind. They're going to be 4-8 now that I've studied their opponents. To a greater degree, I'm going to hold on to that one. This is another one I might change. I like James Madison, but I also like San Diego State, the game. That's a lot of travel all the way from James Madison to Southern California, although Bob Chesney could do it. I'm gonna take the Aztecs at home. I'm taking Mizzou in Columbia against Troy. That's an electric environment, especially when it's full. Like, if it's empty, I can't imagine it's the most fun, but I guess that's any stadium. So, Troy or no Troy, I'm taking the Tigers. App State will crush Charlotte in their rivalry matchup, despite the fact that App State's not very good this year. I'm going to take ECU on the road against Old Dominion. I'm going to take Louisiana at home against UAB. Louisiana Monroe is not bad enough to lose to Southeast Louisiana. Now, Southern Miss and UConn, that's going to be a pretty good game. Those are two roughly even teams. I think I'm going to take UConn on the road. I'm going to go with the Huskies there. Now, week 4, I think Appalachian State at North Carolina State. Most years, that's a bit of a trap game. I guess a reverse trap game. It's a game you don't want to play. You do not want to play at home against Appalachian State on a good year. Ask Michigan and Texas A&M. But I don't think it's a good year for the Mountaineers. I'm taking North Carolina State. Louisiana on the road against Charlotte. Ooh, Southern Miss and Tulane. That's a sneaky good game. That looks like it'll be very fun to watch. But I think I'm going to take the Green Wave at home just because they're just a bit better. Troy, I think I'm actually going to take on the road against Utah State. I know Utah State's usually a very competitive football program. They're really a basketball school, though. As our atrocious basketball team found out last year, they beat us 99-75. And I have no problem with that. I wish they'd beat us worse. I have no sympathy for our basketball team last year, except for Julius. He came back. Thank you, Julius. Very excited to have you back this year, Julius Tedford. Go Tiger basketball. We got 1973 championship team back there. Back on to college football, though. South Alabama at Kentucky. I think I'm going to stick with Kentucky. SEC team at home. Generally not the easiest to beat for a mid-major team. I'm going to take Arkansas State against Kennesaw. I'm going to take Coastal against Liberty. I'm going to take Houston on the road against Georgia Southern. Oh, that's painful because I don't think Georgia State's going to be that bad, and NIU is probably going to be that bad on the road. But I think I'm going to stick with the Huskies from the MAC. Oh no, that's right. They're not in the MAC anymore. They're in the Mountain West. Gosh, I'm going to take the Huskies for that one. Marshall can beat an FCS opponent. James Madison will beat Old Dominion on the road is my prediction, and FAU should probably clobber Louisiana Monroe. Moving to week 5, Georgia Southern at Coastal. I'm taking Coastal. That's an interesting matchup. Georgia State at home. I think I'm going to take the upset. I think I'm going to have the Panthers at home against Old Dominion. James Madison and Marshall. That's a good game. That's a really good game. Those are probably... I think the Sunbelt East is a lot more competitive this year than the West. In the West, it's Troy versus the field. I guess maybe Arkansas State will have a chance. In the East, it's James Madison, Coastal, and Marshall all competing for it. And now we got Marshall and James Madison. I'm not sure if Marshall is. I really love Marshall this year, but I'm not sure if they're better enough to win at home. I think I'm taking the Bulldogs to start 4-1. Now we got Army and LA Tech. Army and LA Tech. Both of these teams. Bit of a spoiler. Both of these teams are ranked pretty low in their power rankings. I'm gonna take Army on the road. Nonetheless, I don't think Louisiana Tech is just that good of a team this year. Then we got Arkansas State of Louisiana. I'm going to take... I think I'm going to take Lunch Winfield and the Ragin' Cajuns at home for a 4-1 start for Louisiana. And then South Alabama over Louisiana Monroe. Now going into Week 6, we've got Old Dominion at Appalachian State. I'm going to go with I think I'm going to go with ODU here. Arkansas State I'll take against Southern Alabama. James Madison beats Georgia Southern on the road. Louisiana, I think, will beat Louisiana Tech. And I'm going to take Marshall at home against Coastal. Both very good teams. I think Marshall's probably a little bit better. And then Troy at home against Southern Miss. Now, Week 7, got Appalachian State at Coastal. Oh, man. These two teams used to be... This game used to be the Sun Belt Championship 5 years ago. This was the Sun Belt Championship every time. But this time, Coastal is just significantly better and even probably not looking at a conference championship. Now, James Madison, I'm going to say gets bowl eligible 6-1 with a win against Georgia State. I'm going to take Old Dominion home against Georgia Southern. I really don't think they're 1-6 opening bad, but that's the schedule that they got. It's the hand they're dealt. I'm going to take Troy on the road against Louisiana. I'm going to take Louisiana Tech on the road against Louisiana Monroe. And I'm going to give... I don't know. Do I take Southern Miss at home? I think I don't. I'm going to go with Arkansas State. Again, I don't think a 1-5 record is very accurate to Southern Miss's talent, but that's the schedule they get. Then, James Madison gets to 7-1 with a win against App State. Arkansas State beats Georgia State. Old Dominion on the road against Louisiana Tech. Marshall at home against South Alabama. Troy goes bowling, 6-1 with a win against Louisiana Monroe. And the Ragin' Cajuns will take care of Southern Miss on the road. Now at home, Georgia Southern beats Appalachian State in the 100 Miles of Hate rivalry. That's what it's called. I'm 99% sure that's what it's called. Then Coastal will beat Georgia State. James Madison and Troy's a really good game. That's a really good game. Those are two really good teams. I just really love the Tucker Kilcrease Goose Crowder double-edged sword. I guess they have in the quarterback room. I'm going with the Trojans. Then Marshall will beat ODU. I'm going to take Southern Miss against Louisiana Monroe. And then South Alabama at home against Louisiana Tech. Georgia Southern, no, not Georgia Southern, Georgia State is not going to beat Appalachian State. I think Arkansas State's going 6-3. Coastal beats Old Dominion. Marshall will beat Georgia Southern. Troy beats Louisiana Tech. And then Louisiana beats South Alabama. Then James Madison wins on the road against Southern Miss. Then another game featuring UConn. I don't think I'm taking the Huskies this time. I think I'm going to have James Madison start 9-2. I guess start. Okay, the season's almost over at this point. James Madison goes 9-2. Coastal, I think, will beat Arkansas State. I don't think that Butch Jones's squad just has enough talent for that win on the road. And then Georgia Southern will beat Georgia State. No, they won't. No, I'm taking Georgia State. Georgia State wins at home. I just really like Cameron Brown at quarterback, and I think he will single-handedly drag this team to maybe 3-4 wins, even though they probably don't have the talent for that. They were really bad last year. It was not good. Southern Miss over Louisiana Tech on the road. I'm going to take Marshall against App State. Louisiana against Louisiana Monroe. And the Troy Trojans with a 9-1 start against South Alabama. Then I think I am finally going to give UConn a win against Old Dominion. Appalachian State is going to beat Louisiana Monroe. I'm going to take Arkansas State on the road. Marshall at home. Troy at home. Coastal Louisiana is a good game. I like both of these teams a lot. And I think I'm picking Lunch Winfield's Cajuns. I'm sorry, I really like the name Lunch Winfield. That's a cool name, Lunch. And then we got South Alabama at Southern Miss. Here, I think I'm going to go with the Jaguars, USA. RBT would be happy. He's a South Alabama fan. Arkansas State at home. Somebody's got to beat Troy. Someone in this conference has to beat Troy, and it's probably going to be Arkansas State at home. This kind of thing just tends to happen in any major conference. The favorite's going to trip up somewhere. Why not here? Probably here. Georgia Southern at home against Louisiana Tech should be an easy win, 3-9. 3-9 finish for the Eagles. Then Louisiana at Georgia State, I think, is going to go to the Raging Cajuns, meaning a 10-2 finish for them. And then I'm going to pick James Madison also for a 10-2 finish. Then Old Dominion at home against Southern Miss. Then Marshall on the road, giving them a 10-2 finish. And then South Alabama will defeat App State, meaning that Marshall and James Madison are both 10-2, 7-1 in conference play. However, James Madison does have the tiebreaker, so they'll be the Sun Belt East champions. And then Troy is 10-2 and 7-1. So is Louisiana, but Troy's got the tiebreaker in that game. Therefore, in the conference championship, we have none other than James Madison and Troy. In the regular season, I picked Troy to win the game. I, against my better judgment, really like Billy Napier's team this year, and I think I'm going to give them the Sun Belt Championship. And I think that will just about do it for our Sun Belt video. We've got finishing the season. We're going to have Louisiana Monroe is going to be 2-10, doesn't win a conference game. Louisiana Tech 2-10, won 7 in conference. Southern Miss 3-9, South Alabama 6-6 goes to a bowl game. Arkansas State 8-4 goes to a bowl game. Louisiana 10-2 goes to a respectable bowl game. Troy will finish 10-3, Sun Belt West champions. And then Georgia Southern 3-9, App State 4-8, Georgia State 3-9, Old Dominion 5-7, Coastal Carolina 8-4, Marshall 10-2, and James Madison, the back-to-back Sun Belt champions at 11-2, 7-1 in conference play. Probably not enough for a playoff bid this year, but still pretty solid overall. That's going to do it for this episode of the College Football Pregame Show. Videos every Saturday. Join us in the season. Me and, not just me, fortunately. That would be really boring listening to me talk for an entire college football season. Every Saturday, half hour roughly shows, 2 hours before kickoff. The upload schedule is as follows. This week will be Sun Belt, and we'll have the American Conference video out if you want to go check that out. You're a fellow American Conference fan. I don't like saying I'm an American Conference fan. I'm a Memphis fan. That's all. That's as far as I'm going to go. Next week, we'll have the Pac-12. Then we'll have the ACC with Notre Dame, the Big 12, the Big 10. And 1 week before the start of the season, we will have the SEC preseason predictions. And then Saturday the 29th, we'll have our Week 0 show. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next time.